Everybody, just give me 2 seconds as I wait for Facebook to catch up, and then we will get started. There we go. All right. Get things shifted around so I can see comments. It's all a bit of a balancing act. All right, everybody, thanks for waiting. Hi, I'm Melva Peters. You've reached Stamping with Melva, and it is Tuesday night. I'm mixed up. Yesterday was Labor Day, and so I kind of took the weekend off, and so I'm kind of mixed up with my days. But it's Tuesday, and it's sketch challenge night. So every Tuesday I jump on at 6:30 and do a sketch. It's my favorite kind of challenge, and I love to do Tuesday night sketch challenges with you. So you've reached, like I said, Stamping with Melva, and you can find me online at stampingwithmelva.com. If you're coming in through YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you get notified when I go live. And if you're coming in through Facebook or my Facebook group, welcome. It just takes me a minute to get, especially with my Facebook group, to get caught up. And so I need to make sure, move things around so I can see comments in both places. All right, let's get started. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Deborah. Welcome. So this is the sketch I'm going to do tonight. It's pretty simple. Just basically a background, some kind of shape. I'm doing a circle. I'm going to use that as my sentiment. Couple of little pieces here that can be paper, could be ribbon. I'm going to use some ribbon. And I'm doing some emboss resist. This is one of my favorite techniques. And every time I see a snowflake stamp, emboss resist calls out to me. So for the sketch, 5.5 by 8.5 or 4.25 by 11 is the card base. And then the first layer, this yellow layer, is 3.75 by 5. And then the gray layer is 3.5 by 4.75. So just a little bit different than normal. I've made you're seeing more of the card base. And then the circle or shape, whatever you want to use, I've said 2 3/8 because I'm using my 2 3/8 inch circle punch, but yours can be roughly 2.5 inch thereabouts, some kind of shape. And then 2 pieces that are about 1/2 inch by 1 inch. And again, could be paper, could be ribbon, whatever you want to use there. So I'm using a brand new product. Are you excited? The new catalog goes live tomorrow. I'm so excited. So it goes live at 11 o'clock Pacific, which is midnight Mountain Time here on the West Coast. And so not far off, 5 hours, 4 hours until it goes live on the West Coast. And so if you haven't got your wish list ready, hopefully you'll do that in the next little bit and for tomorrow. Let's see. This is the Frozen Edges. I'm only using the stamp set. It is a bundle, and it's a gorgeous bundle with some die cuts and embossing dies. I'm just using these gorgeous snowflakes and then one of the sentiments. Love this stamp, and it's the first time I've played with it, so thought I would play with it a little bit. And I'm doing a bit of a different color card. So Highland Heather was calling out to me, a little bit not traditional for a holiday card, but I thought it would be really pretty. I just realized I forgot a blending brush. So my card base is 4.25 by 11. So I've scored it at 5.5. And I need a blending brush. There we go. Okay, so scored it at 5.5, and so we will fold into the mountain or the raised line and give it a good burnish with my bone folder. Hey, Sandy, yeah, I love Highland Heather too. It just kind of calls out to me. All right, so then for my first layer, I actually cut out of basic white. This is the largest, I think the largest. I've got them here. These are the I've lost the cover for this. These are the postage dies. Yes, so this is the largest of the postage die, and turns out it's about 3.75 by 5 when it's cut. So that's going to be my first layer. And then I've got a piece of basic white. That one's for the inside of the card. Let's keep that separate. I've got a piece of basic white that is the same size, 3.75 by 5, and I'm going to trim that down. So when I do this technique, I always start with a piece that's bigger than what I want it to be, because that way I can trim off any edges that I'm not happy with. So I'm using the new, this is the Wow embossing powder. Oops, this is a clear gloss, but that's okay. You can either use clear or white. And I do need to get white. So I thought I'd grab the white. So just I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Where is my white? Huh. All right. So we're not using the new Wow embossing powder. We're using the existing embossing powder because I can't find my little jar of the white embossing powder. So we'll just use the existing one. So I've got my embossing buddy, and we're just going to give it a good, just kind of a wipe over just to get rid of any of the static. And then I've got my Versamark pad, and I'm going to ink up this snowflake die. And I'm going to look to make sure I don't overlap it. You kind of have to hold it up. You guys won't see that, but I can kind of see that. Okay, I think I'm good. I've stamped it 3 times. I've got the little tiny, not the little tiny, the little smaller snowflake here that I'm going to use and go in between. So is the Wow different? Yes, I think it's finer. And in my opinion, it heats and melts faster than this embossing powder. Although I've heard varying opinions about it. I've tried it a couple of times, and I do think it melts a little faster than this embossing powder. So it is a bit finer, I think. Comes in comes in 2 packages, the same colors more or less. So in the basics, it's clear, white, and black. And in the metallics, it's gold, silver, and copper. So the same colors as you got previously, just a different brand of embossing powder. Now, I'm looking for my tweezers, so I don't burn my fingers when I hang on to this. All right, so this may be a little bit loud for a minute, but I'm just going to heat. And always, no matter what kind of embossing powder you use, you're going to just hold it over the powder in one spot and don't move it around until you start to see it melt. And so it'll go from that dull matte finish to a shiny finish. And then you can start moving it, because once it gets to temperature, it heats and melts pretty fast. Anyway, that's snowflake that doesn't want to seem to melt. You don't want to hold it over the embossing powder too long, because it will start to the melted embossing powder will start to sink into the paper, and then you kind of lose the effect. So you kind of want to keep it, once it starts to melt, keep it moving around, and then you can kind of just I think I've got all of it done. There we go. Get rid of that loud noise. So I don't know if you probably can't see that. There we go. You can kind of just see the shine. So I'm going to I've got Highland Heather ink here, and I'm going to take this and my blending brush. I'm because I don't ever clean my blending brushes. I just kind of use a scrap of paper to kind of clean it off a little bit. So I'm using Highland Heather, and I'm going to just start off of the paper as much as possible. And the reason I do a bigger piece of cardstock than what I'm going to need is if I get some dark edges like I have there, just a little bit darker, you can actually trim those off. And so when I get this finished, I will actually trim this to 3.5 by 4 3/4. Isn't that pretty? Ooh. I love the purple. You can go over it as much as you want. And so I'm just going to kind of fill in the gaps with some of the, it's magic. It just kind of pops. And I've told this story. Embossing was it's probably the very first technique that I ever learned to do. And so it's always been this kind of magical thing that when it melts, especially with heat emboss. All right, so I've got my snowflakes that have started to pop. And now I'm going to take and I'm going to stamp. Now I want to just see how dark this is because I may decide to stamp off. Yeah, I think I'm going to stamp off. Just because even there it's quite dark despite stamping off. And you can go over the embossed areas. Okay. And I probably should have done my sentiment while I was doing it. Now I'm going to take, I've got a dry baby wipe here, and I'm just going to take and just kind of lightly rub to get any of the excess ink off of the embossed sections, because it will just sit on top of those embossed snowflakes. Okay, I'm going to trim this to be 3.5. So I just have to take 1/2 inch off, and you can decide whether you take a little bit off of each side. I'm just going to take it off of that one side and off the bottom. 3.5 by 4 3/4. And then before I put this together, I'm going to take, this is that 2 3/8" circle punch, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I grab the sentiment that says, "Wishing you a cozy day." When it snows around here, it always feels like you should cuddle up in a blanket in front of the fireplace. And so this seemed kind of apropos. All right, so there we go. I could have just stamped that image, but I thought that the white embossed might show up quite nicely on the purple. Try not to burn my fingers because I put. There it is. Let's hold it down with that. Once you've used your heat gun, it seems to, or your heat tool, it seems to hold its heat. And so you don't actually have to stamp it or heat it all that much. Now I want to put some of the snowflake, the little snowflake around, just kind of on my sentiment. So I'm going to do tone on tone. So if you've never done this before, using Versamark to stamp with, just stamp, no embossing, will give you a tone-on-tone effect. So just kind of a really nice, if you can see that, there we go. You can see the snowflakes. So it looks like I stamped really lightly with Highland Heather, but I've stamped it with Versamark. So you can use it on any color to get that tone-on-tone effect with your stamp. Okay, so let's start. So that just gives it a nice background with this postage stamp die. So the other thing I wanted to tell you, if you've been waiting for the, oh hey Betty, if you've been waiting for the Spotlight on Nature dies, come on. They are back in stock, and so if you've been waiting to order that bundle, they came back in yesterday, maybe today. I was able to get one for a customer today, so they've been out for a while. There are still some of the dies that won't be available. They say the 9th, which is what the Spotlight on Nature said, but they came in early. Okay, so isn't that pretty? Just love the Highland Heather. So we're just going to glue this on flat. So I'm excited to play with this, the dies that go along with these frozen edges, because they're really pretty with the snowflake. Both the part of it's cut out. It's almost like partial die cutting, because part of it's cut out and part of it is embossed, which is really fun. Now I grabbed the iridescent striped ribbon. I think this is one of the ones, maybe it's back in stock. I didn't notice this one. It has been not available. So this is 1/2 inch. I think it's 1/2 inch wide, 1/2 inch. So it fits my sketch. And I'm just going to cut a piece that's about 4 inches long. It doesn't need to be that long, and fold it. And this will get tucked underneath my circle. Put my angle on there. Okay. So that's just going to go on like that. So I'm going to just use a little bit of Stampin' Seal to hold that in place. And then we'll use dimensionals to pop this up. Put that on like that. I'm going to put it up a little bit so I can see my... And then for the embellishment, I'm using these gorgeous iridescent faceted gems. And so let's put 2 different sizes. I've used so many of these. I'm going to put these all on there because they just seem to, I want them to show up. All right, and then for the inside of the card, I'm going to take my little snowflake and just stamp a couple of times on the inside of the card. They are the best gems. I agree with Sandy. You can actually even color them if you want to using your Stampin' Blends. But I just love the iridescent. So I haven't really tried, but they will color. All right, so there we go. That's my sketch. Stayed really true to the sketch tonight. But like I said, you can use any shape you want for the circle. Doesn't really matter, but I'm a huge fan of circle punches, and so I use them a lot. And I always forget about these postage note dies, or rectangular postage dies. Can't remember what they're called. I love they just kind of give that little pop to your card. All right, let's see. Where are we here? Got things moved around so I can't see the screens. All right, there we go. Thanks for joining me tonight. Hope you enjoyed the card. Thanks, Monica. I love the color too. Highland Heather, one of my favorites. If you haven't followed me before, you'll notice my blog has a purple header. And if you ever get mail from me, all of my mail comes in purple bubble packed envelopes. So I'm kind of a fan of purple. So no wonder I like the Highland Heather. All right, I'll be back to live tomorrow night with a technique for you. So come join me at 6:30 tomorrow night. Don't forget to get your order in. Like I said, it goes live at 11 p.m. Pacific and 12 midnight Mountain Time. So the new catalog and the new scrapbooking brochure with all the new scrapbooking supplies that Stampin' Up! Is coming out with. I can't wait to get my hands on them and to figure out what we're going to do going forward with the scrapbooking kits. I'm going to play a little bit before I announce anything because I just want to get used to them and see what I can do with them before I offer anything. So stay tuned for that. What else? Oh, if you're interested in the Reindeer Fun, Reindeer Days Stamp Camp, you can order the supplies you need for that starting tomorrow, or message me and I will make sure you get them ordered, or I'll get them ordered for you. A few things. I sent a newsletter out today with a whole bunch of new things and a whole bunch of my open events and classes. And so if you're not on my newsletter list, head over to my blog at stampingwithmelva.com and a pop-up will open up for you to subscribe to my newsletter. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. Hope you have a great evening. Happy stamping. Bye.